to the top right-hand side, our blue Zerg player. This from Gamers Origin is Reynor. Picked up a win in his first series of the day against a laser, 2-1. It's kind of a big one, so already a good start to the day from our boy Reynor here. And on the bottom left-hand side, our Red Protoss had a similar start of the day as well, a 2-1 victory over Rail. So both of them coming out of mirror matchups into this PvZ now. Let's see what the players will bring for us. What's up, Makara DeRay, coming in with the Twitch Prime for 6 months in a row. Thank you so much for the 6 months of love. And as we do just get this started up, Probe going to go patrolling around on this natural, already trying to block this off, and Reynor just says, cool, well, I'll go straight over to my third base. So, ShoWTimE knowing he's blocking this here, we'll see if he has any sort of plans or any sort of style that really kind of abuses the fact that Reynor's going to expand to the further off base to begin with. Sometimes Adepts can be quite good at jumping between bases in this situation and so on. Obviously the Queen can't get over to that base very early, it's harder to transfer drones there. So that's a little bit of an annoyance, but it's not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. If it was, Reynor would have maybe gone pool, gas, and then hatch, for example, and just taken his hatchery on the lateral just a little bit later on. But nope, hatch, gas, and pool with the hatch on the third base location. And we do get this started up. Probe comes in, having a little bit of a wander around. I'm just going to be seeing a spawning pool. Just coming up to being about halfway done. Obviously back at home, ShoWTimE has thrown down that Nexus Cybercore to follow up as well. No early wall off yet from ShoWTimE, nothing up on the high ground, no sort of low ground wall to begin with either. So a little bit of a different opening here from ShoWTimE, as we are going to be seeing him dropping the assimilator and getting ready to throw down his tech choices here in the near future. Obviously, you saw a little bit of PvZ already today. ShoWTimE is very typically the player who will play a very defensive macro style unless he's trying to hit a very strong timing. And now and again, recently, ShoWTimE has mixed in more kind of like aggressive immortal builds and so on. In WSG against several, he was quite aggressive as well, which again is just not very typical of how ShoWTimE usually plays. So, very interesting that. As you do see the robot facility dropping down from ShoWTimE in the main base. Again, that robot facility on the way. Stalker going to get chrono boosted. And we do see the Adept starting to shade across. The robo then gives them the early access to a warp prism oftentimes, and that's something that kind of become a more popular build lately, where you just get a fast warp prism with the few gateway units that you have. There's another couple of options as well. That's a sentry, and there's also always the chance to maybe just go for a chrono boosted immortal. With a chrono boosted immortal, all of a sudden you can actually deal quite a lot of damage, of course. Adept shade up into the main to try and pick up some information. We'll see there's no workers on gas, and see there's exactly 100 gas mines, so knowing 100 gas has been mined here gives him that information that, okay, well, you're getting link speed, but not really much else for the moment. So ShoWTimE can start to piece together the parts of this puzzle. Try and figure out what Reynor wants to do as he does add on his 2 extra gates, pile on to finish the wall at the front. We'll be seeing this Overlord is going to get pushed away, so a few extra Zerglings continue to come in. Overlord will survive for the moment. I mean, you've got to be careful with these Lings here. You can't just go chasing that Overlord down, and ShoWTimE seems to know it, not going to move out further than he needs to. As we do see, the Warp Prism will bring a Stalker through there. Obviously with the Warp Prism, the Stalker is very safe. Get a couple more shots off, and you'll actually even sit and take some damage to finish it up. So a good kill on the Overlord here, and ShoWTimE just pushing back some of the information from Reynor. But Reynor's Ling is really stopping ShoWTimE from doing too much on the map. All you know so far, which is still good info, is the fact that this is of course a Warp Prism based opening. Rotron drops down in the main base of Reynor now, so getting that set to go. No lad just yet. With the robot facility so early, he probably realizes he doesn't really need the overseers or detection. That's 5 extra gates from ShoWTimE, so he's going up to 8 gates. There's just a straight up 8 gate from ShoWTimE. Talked about him being a little bit more aggressive as of late, and well, this is definitely that. Just going to go straight up a ton of units here, and I mean, those few Zerglings are going to say, nuh-uh, you're not coming up here, not just yet. Warp Prism's still trying to find a way forwards, wants to find somewhere to warp in from. Obviously just needs to warp in that, set up that prism for a moment, get the warp ins out. A few more Stalkers being brought in, the Zerglings. Don't quite see this yet. Reynor is only on 46 drones, which feels like a decent number to be able to deal with this. He's got 8 roaches on the way out. When ShoWTimE pressing forwards, he's going to go straight in towards this natural. First Overlord down. Reynor supply blocked. Oh, what a bad time to be supply blocked. Further reinforcements are going to take forever to be on the way. Warpism now coming in. There's going to be a force field on the ramp as well. Doesn't quite save that single stalker that was stuck on the low ground. Warpism just needs to find a moment to set up and warp in another couple of units. He's going to warp in more sentries and zealots as well. Roaches try and target those sentries down, but they pick up. And there's going to be another force field to keep those units from the low ground. And this entire main base of Reynor is in a lot of trouble as ShoWTimE just marches through the main. Roach are already in a lot of trouble here as well. That means no more Roach production. Finally, some units allowed up in towards the main base here. The Ravager Battle will be able to break down that force field a little bit more easily as well. Reynor already down to only 27 workers. He's lost 20 in this fight, so even if he cleans this up at this point, it's still not going to be pretty. As you can see, the Zealots tanking nicely in the front. The Corrosive Biles are not connecting. There's a good amount of Stalkers left to keep chasing those Roaches, and the Roaches still have to get through the Zealots before they can even deal with the Stalkers. Not sure how much that force field does here. Maybe stops it from Army from pulling away as easily. He will recall out with one Stalker left behind. Somehow kills that Extractor last moment. Well, Reynor down by 11 workers at this stage, and ShoWTimE looking real good just because he got his units back home. And the thing is, while ShoWTimE obviously doesn't have a lot of tech behind this, neither does Reynor. He doesn't even have a lair. He's actually only on hatcheries in a spawning pool because he lost his Roach run. And so the tech choices here from Reynor are non-existent, and ShoWTimE just goes back home. It just gives him that chance to rebuild and recuperate. And obviously, as he keeps on building up and gathering his army together, he's going to have so much more than what than what Reynor is, because Reynor dropped down to 27 workers for a while there. He lost 20 workers. And that's a lot. Just going to see those Lings continue to run around. Rotron is about to finish up. So Stalkers setting up right now, and I mean, this is just such a huge army at this point from ShoWTimE. These Lings and Roaches, what on earth are they meant to do? I mean, there's only a couple of Ravagers, so you can't even really rely on miraculous Corrosive Biles. The first Ravager almost dead already, down to 1 hit point. Still not dead, somehow, some way, but, well, let's face it, there's extra Zealots warp in. You kind of know how this goes. The Lings are running into Zealot reinforcements, so that's not really much of a problem. There's a good amount of Stalkers here, and that's brilliant force fields to trap those Roaches in to give the Zealots a chance to deal their damage. And Reynor's numbers are thinning out fast as ShoWTimE. A deadly 8-gate here in game number 1, and really just Reynor hitting a supply block and loses an Overlord or two, really just meaning that he couldn't get enough inside to defend this properly. Then of course the force field on the ramp meant he was not in a good position either, and it just went from bad to worse. Being supply blocked, he couldn't walk on a Ravager for a long time, so he couldn't pop that force field super quickly, and that gives ShoWTimE all the advantages he needs to set up into the lead, and hence the win in game number 1 of this best of 3. ShoWTimE 1, Reynor 0. On the top left-hand side, down a map, falling victim to the 8-gate. Our blue Zerg is Reynor. Thank you so much, Kraken V, for the 2-month free sub. Says Wardy, keep it up. The good work, man. Thank you so much for the 2 months. Much appreciated. As we have got down to the bottom right, Protoss, who's leading the series, looking to go 2-0 in this round robin. This is a big matchup, by the way, because this is ShoWTimE in the bottom right, our German Protoss player. I really feel we're at this sort of stage right now. Is this something funky? No, it's just a gateway and then probes already across the map, right? Yeah, okay. This is one of these matchups where Reynor and ShoWTimE are both expected to set up a kind of the top of the group. So win here could already be advancing you guaranteed 1 round further along in those playoffs. So that's definitely something to watch out for now. Definitely something to watch out for. Every single series here, and that's what's so awesome about this format. Every single series matters quite a bit. As we are going to be seeing the probe moving around. What's up, Biker Horse? Thank you so much for the 14-month free sub as well. As we do just have the early game of PvZ being established. The early probe again just to block that hatchery first from coming down, and was obviously pretty successful in doing so. Well, didn't block the hatchery first, but did force the hatchery to drop. Well, actually, no, the hatchery did actually come down over here. Oh, interesting. Probe got tricked. Ay. That even tricked me. I was following the, wasn't looking at the screen when it happened. My bad. Well, obviously we kind of, I think, look to ShoWTimE to see what happens in game number 2. You know, are we going to see something like aggression? You know, do we see aggression again, or do we go up to 3 bases this time at least? What is the plan here for Mr. ShoWTimE? Because it really is down to him, I feel, based on how that first game went. It really is down to him to kind of show us, because obviously we didn't really get to see much of what Reynor wanted to do. ShoWTimE generally does dictate the pacing of the game in the early few minutes, unless there's like a Nidus or something from the Zerg. That's one of the situations where you don't really take control as the pro display in terms of, you know, what direction the game goes in. There's a fast Twilight Cancel from ShoWTimE here. Now Reynor did fall victim in WESG, I want to say. He did fall victim to some, well, lack of Spore Crawlers. He didn't have a Spore Crawl up on the third base, and some DTs ran in. I think it was against Drogo. Some DTs ran in, killed off them, killed off the third hatchery, and the game was pretty much just lost from there. So Reynor just needs to be able to be pretty sharp against this, make sure he doesn't have a slow response. Stalker should already tell Reynor here that there is not going to be a Stargate opening. As we do see, if it is a Stargate, it's not a Phoenix at least, but the extra Ling Scout is really nice as well. Going to see the Robo and the Twilight. And so now there should be no reason at all for Reynor to be caught off guard by any sort of Dark Shrine play. The Dark Shrine will drop down. Good scout from Reynor, just diving in through this little gap somewhere that ShoWTimE couldn't really close in time because he was chasing away the Overlord. The Overlord which then did survive. So unfortunately for ShoWTimE, that hasn't worked out so brilliantly for him, as 2 Adepts are going to have their backward shades ready in case they run into trouble. And they're just looking to see if there's any units out on the map. And there is a few Zerglings, in fairness, already coming across here. Leon the Rotron lined up at the same time means that we will have that Overseer and Roach production, so he can defend against the Dark Temple without any issue. He's going to have detection with the Overseer up way in advance. And see again, ShoWTimE has a decision to make. A 5th and a 6th gateway and some aggression, or do we just see the pretty kind of standard going up to 3 bases at this point? Kind of what we saw Drogo doing when he went for the fast Archon drop with DTs against Serral in our first series of the day, of course. War Prism heading up towards the upper left-hand side. It's going to be up there in a moment or two and ready to warp in. Those DTs up to the main base, man. I mean, obviously the Overseer is around. It's in the natural at the moment. There's a couple of Adept shade in. It's already going to be a couple of kills. That's quite nice. The DTs will get to work on the lever. Well, Overseer is here, so instantly ShoWTimE just picks up those DTs. And these Adepts, though. There's 1 Adept still remaining for 6 kills. It's a hell of an opening out of ShoWTimE. 6 drone kills, has these DTs set up. He's going to kill off that 1 Zergling and probably morph in the other Archon. I mean, if a couple of Roaches for a moment thinking, we can get over there and do something. No, you really can't. You really can't. Mortal on the way from ShoWTimE in the main base. The War Prism loading up, coming back a little bit now. Obviously with the 2 Archons inside, can start moving around the map and getting some pickoffs. No Ling speed here from Reynor. So if that's something he wants to add in later, then, or if Lings is something he wants to add in at some point, he'll have to get that Ling speed going. Even if he wants to add in Banes, Ling speed's quite nice to be able to position the Lings. And there's a Spire dropping down, so Reynor's maybe looking to play a similar style to what Serral was showing us earlier on as well. Lots of Grazzle coming in with the 4-month resub as well. Thank you so much. A couple of Adepts, man. 3 more drones. I mean, you just can't have this happening. 2 more go down to the Archons. I mean, that's pretty serious, right? As we drop back in behind this mineral line, 1 more drone again. Reynor's lost a lot of workers this game, just little bits and pieces. ShoWTimE does not have a scout in the main on the Spire, but he does add 3 extra gates going up to the 3 bases. I wonder if there is some sort of, I mean, the double hallucinated Phoenix should scout it, right? So ShoWTimE should get a little bit of a heads up about this, and we'll see what his response will be. Has to be careful. I mean, this War Prism still being aggressive, has to make sure he doesn't lose this as the Mutas pop out. It could be a bit of a disaster, of course. Hallucinated Phoenix flying through the main, couple Queens getting damage done, but obviously ShoWTimE gets the scout that he wants, which is this site of that Spire. So ShoWTimE now knows there's Mutalisks on the way, and Again, it's his kind of decision. How does he deal with this? Already a couple Stalkers warping in. Looks like he's going to play that defensive game. Getting the cannons up, going to try and minimize what the Mutalisks can do. Rather than just going to fling, rather than just flinging himself at his opponent. Going to play this in a sort of way where he's playing with confidence, right? Says, yeah, I can defend this. I can deal with these Mutas, no problem at all. Sure, it might not be easy, but I've definitely got the skill and the ability to do this. And that's what kind of matters. First Mutas arrive. There's very few Mutas. Actually, Reynor only made 4 initially. 3 more about to join, so it's 7 in total. 2 probes going down, but again, a good initial defense from ShoWTimE. He could move out here as well with the fact that Mutas have been made. There's a bit of a possibility there. Somehow one Mutalist survives that Archon shot. Super low HP. Honestly, the army of ShoWTimE doesn't look that scary though. 1 Archon, a few Immortals. There's obviously a couple of Archons somewhere there. It is the Prism flying around to defend multiple locations. Mutas do turn and manage to grab themselves a sentry kill. That's a good little target fire down. Nice to grab a sentry just between bases because honestly not much else was really happening there. Reynor going in towards Ling Bane as a follow-up as well, by the way. Bane speed already on the way up. So it kind of feels very similar to how we saw Serral playing earlier. Although Serral was already on a hive at this point, or not on a hive, but on his way to a hive. And that was kind of a big deal because then Serral built straight up in towards those brews and it kept him very safe from attacks and just kind of forced the late game so quickly. Definitely gave him a bit of an upper hand going into that late game. Mu's just hanging out to the left-hand side. And as you do see, Lings, Roaches, and Ravages still gathering up here from Reynor. Gonna set themselves between the natural base and the third. Whole ton of Banelings on the way down here. So a bunch of Banelings on the way up, and well, Muta's still kind of flying around. ShoWTimE is 165 supply. Getting Storm, definitely I think the way to go about this right now is so much Ling Bane on the map. Storm's going to be absolutely incredible for him, and if he just waits for Storm, he'll be pretty much maxed out. Maybe then, if he wants to, he can attack. Or Reynor might be attacking into him. +2 attack on the way as well, getting that also set up and ready to go. Over see him. Continuing along, going to move into the main base with these Mutalisks. Pylon takes a little bit of damage. A couple more probes going to start dropping down as Lings kind of wanted to dive around the left-hand side. Not going to find an opportunity to just yet. +2 melee. On the way up, and again, it's going to be seeing Storm. Still Chrono boosting here. There's a few more Banelings on the way in. It's going to be a maxed out Reynor attacking into a maxed out ShoWTimE with Storm available. High Templars do have energy in a moment or so. That first couple of force fields were kind of necessary because otherwise those cells were all going to die. More good force fields so far. There's a good Storm as well. Covers where those Banelings want to run through. So far, real good defense out of ShoWTimE. Pushes Reynor back without a problem. Still pressing upwards here, actually. The bottom left, a few Mutas hanging out. The rest of the units are mostly just Zerglings, actually. There's barely any Banelings currently on the map from Reynor. He's only got 13. Against 5 Archons. Storm still available. We'll see this topside base in trouble. Oh my god, the Lings are going to catch the High Templar. 4 of the 5 get saved by the Warp Prism, but one of them still going down. Nice little run through. He is into the main base, going to try and do what they can. No target fire on a pylon or anything though, and that's the difference between Serral and Reynor here. Serral was target firing a pylon in this situation. Reynor just sort of aim moves them in and says, okay, go and attack whatever you can. Just little things, right? Little things where you can spend a little bit more time Serral deciding what those Mutas do, and it gives them a little bit more efficiency. Main fight starting up to the top side. Doesn't have enough force to completely block those Banelings off though. Has to split away. High Templars are going to have Storm energy again soon. The thing is, the Banelings get through, but they only really connect on Immortals and Stalkers, which is not really brilliant, of course. And now Reynor has dropped back down to 3 bases as ShoWTimE keeps on pressing. His PvZ here looking fantastic so far. Gonna see another couple of Storms dropping down as well. The High Templars putting in some real work right now. Great Aspire on the way up, but will Reynor get there for long enough to get the Broodlords out and rolling? I kind of don't want to believe he will, because ShoWTimE's doing a great job in this attack, but maybe these Banes will do something. The High Templar get killed by a Baneling that sneaks on through. few Immortals left, but there is only really Roaches left. I guess it means that ShoWTimE has to back away, though, without Storms in tow. Absolutely have to get out of there. So ShoWTimE has to back away, and now Reynor, even though he's only on free base with a full free building, he will have a little bit of time to just, for a moment or two here, sit back and get up to Broodlords. That should push ShoWTimE into another stage of this game, already building up into Blink, realizing he'll need something, anything, to help deal with those Broodlords here. Well, good hold by Reynor, really something that he needed. Mortals back down to the bottom side here. The High Templars continue to set up. A few more Zealots warping in. Lings coming over to the right-hand side. A few Balins there from Reynor. Going to roll down in towards this base as well very shortly as Mutalisks. No longer really an issue on the map, right? All of them getting cleaned up before. That was one thing that Reynor was constantly using to try and counter-attack with. That's 5 probes down, and the rest of the probes just running for the moment as Zealots warped in to try and deal with it. Some Stalkers in the front here, kind of left behind as ShoWTimE pulls back, but just wasn't quite controlling those Stalkers properly. So they kind of just got surrounded. Now these 2 Immortals are going to be stranded as well. Good Corrosive Bowels killed them just in case they try and recall away. Real good Corrosive Bowels, actually. And that's a good shutdown by Reynor. Suddenly ShoWTimE is in a bit more trouble than he has been all game long. 170 to 130 supply. Down on workers with the recent losses. And now a couple of Swarm Hosts coming up. I'm not sure if Swarm Hosts are intentional here by Reynor. I think he is just trying to move in towards more Corruptors, more Broodlords. Again, play that sort of style that we saw Serral playing before. Just the Broods in the sky. Eventually, when you find the time, you get up into a bunch of Infestors, and then how do you deal with that army as the Pros play? Well, you kind of just don't. Lings are going to come and get another surround over here. These Lings of Reynor so deadly, just darting all over the map at all points. Doing a really good job of this. Another Storm drops, but doesn't really kill much because Reynor's already moving away out of it. Brewers coming down to the left, and again the anti-air currently consists of a group of High Templar with Storm Energy. That is not going to do enough. Not at all. Brewers are going to lay siege to this forward low ground base. And Reynor looked like he was in trouble in this game with that push of ShoWTimE on the top side, coming so close to breaking through. But in the end, Reynor held on, and now he's pushing to try and turn this series into a 1-1 situation to try and tie this up. Broods continue to drop down the Broodlings. I mean, the Stalkers just can't even get close to getting underneath them. Blinks away. The Lings are about to run in just as the blink had already gone off. Stalkers will now come forward, pick off that lone Swarm Host. The Broodlords are backing away, so Reynor showing a little bit of respect, a little bit of fear against the army of ShoWTimE, whose main base, keep thinking this Overseer might be something interesting. Stalkers blink forwards, and the Broodlords not quite able to protect themselves for a moment. Thing is there anything in the long run here for ShoWTimE to really defend this? He got a Stargate up, but is still missing the Fleet Beacon, is still missing the X target. In fact, he doesn't have a Stargate, so maybe that got killed or he just cancelled it. That means he's on very kind of mid-game tech to deal with a Broodlord army. That's not going to be pretty, as we're going to be seeing the Lings, the Banes going through here. Archon gets surrounded, the High Templar goes down. Recall on this army. The Banes don't quite know what they want to really commit onto. 15 probes down. Storm on top of the Zealots. Oh my god, the Banes is going to roll down here as well. The Stalkers will blink into tank, but he actually loses a bunch of Stalkers. The Immortal that got recalled here gets killed as well. Suddenly, Reynor's on a 90 supply lead. Going to grow further as Lings run into the low ground base. That Nexus gets surrounded. That's another dead base now. And this time it's in ShoWTimE's side of the map. And so ShoWTimE is down to 3 bases against what is now the 5 base of Reynor. As he gets the bottom left base up, he rebuilds this base here as well. Reynor looking absolutely fantastic in Game 2. What a turnaround, and it looked as though it was over. See a few Zerglings wanting to try and run down to the bottom side here. A few more Archons continue to build in. One more High Templar warping in as well, and just going to be seeing this army of ShoWTimE. Pressing forward, a couple of Storms already dropping down. Roaches and Ravagers getting coated there as well. Two more Stalkers warping in underneath that Prism. Lings running on the right hand side. Archon dealing quite a lot of damage. Extra Banes keep on showing up as well, and I mean the Banes are just picking away at so much here. At some point in the very near future there's going to be basically no anti-air left. And ShoWTimE knows it. Has to type out GG as Reynor ties up the series 100% through a quick little commercial break. As we go into Port Alexander for the deciding matchup here. To the top left hand side, the red Protoss This is ShoWTimE. Bottom right hand side, our blue Zerg Reynor. Thanks for dropping by the stream today. Of course, there's so much StarCraft going on this weekend with the WCS Winter round robins. 4 matches happening at a time. You can catch them across all of the English streams. I really do appreciate you guys coming and checking out my channel for a couple of moments. And for this series here. And we got some ZvP coming up after this. Going to be Hero Marine versus a laser. And that could be interesting because I'm hearing that Hero Marine has taken map number 1 off of Serral. Which is obviously a very exciting result and could completely change this group around. Could get real interesting. Anyways, this last game of ShoWTimE versus Raynor was actually very exciting. I feel like ShoWTimE had a push and just sort of ran out of energy and quite literally energy on the sentries and High Templars for a moment or two, and maybe just needed to pull back that little bit sooner after already dealing good damage, and then maybe push again very quickly without having losing too much. In the end, you lost a bit too much, and then obviously when you rebuild and attack again, it gives Reynor that time to move up in towards Brute Lords, which is obviously a little bit of a interesting little situation. Well, a couple of queens on the way out, as we see the Overlord on the way up as well. Early game PvZ, not a lot to talk about here, just waiting to see what the build order choice is from ShoWTimE really, whether he's going to open with that Stargate once more, or whether he is maybe thinking about the idea of something a bit different. But there we go, the Stargate dropping down. As is Stargate once more, he actually didn't open Stargate at all this series, so it's actually going to be a different build again here from ShoWTimE. In game number 3, game number 1, that 8 gate all in, game number 2, the Dark Templar Archon drop. This time we are going to see the Stargate, so back to really kind of just basics here. They go to the cookie cutter build of PvZ, the cookie cutter tech structure, where we're seeing less and less of it recently. Players trying to switch it up as of late. A little bit of a block on the third base there, just for a little while. The Adept trying to come in, delayed even further, but unfortunately will not be there in time to. As we are just going to be seeing the Adept coming down to the bottom. And look to see what's up. Phoenix Chrono Boosting here from ShoWTimE. You can see that Overlord is still hanging out up on the top, and just going to see the Warp Gate just about halfway done. Second gateway dropping down as well. Phoenix able to pick up the Overlord kill, and again just going to be seeing the Adept continue to shade over towards the natural expansion. So Adept shading back over to the natural here. Probably cancel on the Robo dropping down as a follow-up. There's the Phoenix obviously getting its early kill. No Oracle production at all. No Oracle production at all, as you're going to be seeing those Zerglings turned away by the Stalker. It's 5 extra gates. I mean, it's aggressive, right? Probably expecting the 6 extra gates. It's really aggressive. ShoWTimE going back to what he was doing last time. He builds the Phoenix to push away the Overlord. On this map, the Overlord can hang out over here and see the gas timing. And obviously that would really reveal the idea of ShoWTimE being super aggressive. So this Overlord being pushed away, that's actually allowing ShoWTimE to not take these gases without being figured out. Charge starts, 7 gateways, 8 gateways going to be the total count here. I mean, the War Prism's on the way, so let's see if Reynor is going to be able to hold this off. Allowing the Roach Roaring start right now, so he will have the Roach Roaring up when this attack comes. The question is, will he have any Roaches out already? That's going to be a bit of a tougher question to really see here. He probably won't have many. The problem is if he keeps droning at this point as well, he's going to be in trouble. ShoWTimE's only on 35 workers, so if Reynor goes much beyond the 48 worker count that he has now, already going towards 51, then he's going to be in a lot of trouble. You'll see the Lings running through the top side a little bit. Adepts from ShoWTimE gathering up on the bottom charge. About to finish up in the 7 Zealots. 8 Zealots already warping in off this prism. They have charge, and that's going to be so deadly. There's going to be so many Zealots here. Roaches are starting to build, but is it just a little bit too late for those Roaches? I tend to kind of feel like, yes, it might be. You see the Zealots ready to charge in on this third base. Already you can see Reynor's just pulling his units away from this. Well, Zealots go charging in. The War Prism in the main, by the way, he's going to be able to force field the ramp again. Well, this time at least Reynor won't be supply blocked, so he can morph in a Ravager much faster and morphs one instantly, as the Zealots will get to work in that main base mineral line. These Zealots have backed away while still alive, so that's great. 5 workers down here so far. Another force field replacing the one that just was about to fade. Now some sentries actually do start to drop down. ShoWTimE looking away at the spawning pool. I'm not sure if that's real kind of damage that he can look at and be like, okay, this is really awesome for me. These Zealots coming back in. They need to jump on some of these units before it's too late. Then start going on to the hatchery, but yeah, I think the Queens and the Roaches the better choice here. Cleaning up units is going to allow him to keep doing more later. We see the Zealots charging in towards the Roaches in the main now. War Prism here seems to be safe enough to maybe warp in another round of units as well. As these Zealots up on the third base have been cleaned out, but it's 39 drones is all that remains right here. Corrosive Fire will help against that Prism. The last warp in before the Prism goes down, but it does go through. That means those Roaches and Ravagers are going to get a little bit caught up here. The Queen's now going down as well. ShoWTimE is not replacing the War Prism yet, though, in production. These Zealots are getting a lot done. He starts to build up another couple of probes. More and more Roaches pouring out, and eventually these Roaches will clean these Zealots up. I think Reynor has made a hold here, as this is the sort of stage where maybe ShoWTimE even throws down these extra couple of gases and just says, okay, then let's go now. Well, he just recall these Zealots out. Maybe he just goes with another huge warp in. But then why did he start up the couple of probes? Maybe a bit unsure as to what he was planning. Well, War Prism coming up through the top side. War Prism coming through. Looking to see what's going to happen is... Well, it's pretty much now or never from ShoWTimE, but I feel like Reynor's probably been able to quell kind of the... or dampen the storm. He's now in this position where he's, still on an okay-ish work count. His Roach count's obviously risen quite a bit, and that's very important against those Zealots to just have a good clump of Roaches, so you don't just get overwhelmed. That's the whole point of this build, to just do some overwhelming right from the get-go. You can see that Reynor already pulls away from the third base, lets it take some damage, says, you know what, I kite a little bit, but those are fantastic force fields. Roaches from Reynor cut in half, and having to kite away here to just try and stay out of trouble. Just meant he couldn't kite away. And those Roaches took a lot of damage, but it's still maybe not enough. It's still maybe not enough. Phoenix dealing some damage. Overlord backing away as well. Zealot sentries. Stalker hanging out in the center. We're not going to get a little bit supply blocked here as the Phoenix gets to work, but let's face it, he's going to get out of supply block pretty quick, and he's still making a good amount of Roaches. ShoWTimE is transitioning. He's building an Immortal. He is going to throw down another couple of gases. He's try and build a few more probes as well. Whether he just goes for like an Immortal follow-up to this. I mean, that's maybe the best way to go about this. If Reynor is really only building masses of Roaches, and he's going to sit on 44 drones, then, going into a couple of Immortals and pushing with a couple of Immortals and all of these Zealots, well, it adds a whole new level of power to this army. Phoenix and pushed away up to the top. Roach is coming back over to the left-hand side. ShoWTimE kind of come down into position here. The Roaches and Reynor getting quite adventurous moving across the map. So it's going to keep on charging forwards. The Lingers and Roaches continuing to set up. We'll get the concave here. The thing is, these Immortals aren't here just yet, right? They're still wandering across the map. Some extra warpins coming through. Force fields available. Roaches and Ravagers wanting to push up the ramp here in towards the center. Having to be very careful. Nexus dropping down from ShoWTimE. So he is going up to 3 bases. Alright, so heading up in towards 3 bases here. We've seen the Temple Archives dropping down. Nexus coming towards completion. Okay, so a little bit of a calming moment. A little bit of a calming moment, chilling out. But I don't think Reynor wants to chill out. He's got an army. He's got a lot of Roach Ravager. So pressing forwards here. Looking to see what can happen. Not going to press in just yet, though. Decides it's not worth it just at the moment. Coming over to the right-hand side. Lings running through. Spire dropping down in the back of the natural expansion. Zealots, Immortals, Sentries gathering together. I mean, it kind of feels like ShoWTimE is building up to go for one push, right? I guess he's on 3 bases, but he never really built probes for this 3rd base. I guess because his main was mining out anyways. Playing as Roaches and Rav just coming up down the bottom. And a few extra Zealots getting warped in here. Spire is about halfway done. And this army of ShoWTimE, well, he'll be able to get the 4th base because Reynor is out of position to the bottom side. There's a Warp Prism on the bottom side. No Warp Prism with this top side army. ShoWTimE's not going to dive on the expansion here of Reynor, but he is going to keep Reynor on 3 bases. And that alone is already kind of painful for Reynor. But again, time is ticking for ShoWTimE. The longer this game goes, the more he's just sat on 46 drones. I mean, Spire about to finish from Reynor, so he's going to have the opportunity to build some Mutalisks here as well. So that's able to pick off another couple of Zerglings. Let's see, Psystorm being Chrono Boosted out as well. Spore Crawler dealing a little bit more damage to that Hallucinated Phoenix, which is just scouting around. ShoWTimE will see the Spire just before it goes down, so well, kind of knows what he's up against. Starting up some Phoenix to deal with the Mutalisks. It just still feels that ShoWTimE's plan here is to max out and go for one big fight. Not really do too much else, as we still have Roaches and Ravagers wanting to come in over to the left-hand side. +1 attack from ShoWTimE coming in the back of the main base. Meters continue to fly across over to the left. More Stalkers from ShoWTimE going to warp in right here. I mean, again, he's kind of set up to deal with these meters without too much of a problem, but again, I guess the biggest issue is the fact that he has to spend time doing it rather than maybe going across the map and capitalizing. I'm just worried for Reynor's army because it is just Roach Ravager, right? So if these meters don't do enough, this army is very low tech. He's got money to rebuild, but if ShoWTimE can just overwhelm him, which is really a possibility at this stage. Phoenix picking away at the meters quite nicely as well. This is a good scout from ShoWTimE. Has to be careful there. Those corrosive bars actually land quite nicely. The force fields grab a few roaches, but not really too many. Let's be realistic. As the Phoenix still getting rid of Mutalisk after Mutalisk. A couple more biles will buy some time for Reynor to back away into more Mutalisk. So we're going to be seeing even more air units here from our Zerg. Well then. How does ShoWTimE deal with that? He is still making Phoenix. I mean, in fairness, 11 meters adding on to the 3 that remain, it's not that crazy enough. It's not like 11 meters on top of 10 that he already had. He did lose quite a lot here. So, nice save on the sentries. Good force fields. Again, a bunch of roaches just going to get picked off here. Good shield battery as well, healing up those sentries. That was actually really good from ShoWTimE. I really feel the last couple of minutes, ShoWTimE has been the more impressive player and has been making the moves to potentially get back in this. Well, let's see. Heroes do come through and they do find one Phoenix right away. Nice storm. Good warding storms, and obviously the mutants don't like that. You have to be real careful after being sat in a storm for a moment or so. Suddenly they're very vulnerable. Roaches and Ravagers still gathering in the center. Mutants diving on the left side. The War Prism is super low. The High Templar. Wow, saves the High Templar and the War Prism as it comes back in after running away. It's only one of 2 High Templar going down there. The Mutants still being a bit of a problem as Roach Ravager looks to strike. Reynor is back up to a 4th base here. A little bit of an army split as the Phoenix and the High Templar go after the Mutalisks. The rest of the army coming to try and deal with the Roach Ravager, although I definitely feel like you could do with a few storms over here. The Archons get left on their own, and ShoWTimE's falling apart. This is really going badly for him. He just can't deal with these Mutalisks jumping around his bases. He doesn't have enough Phoenix, apparently. And that is going to be the problem, it seems, as the Mutants are just going crazy in this main. The Roaches and Ravagers took a good fight, while obviously ShoWTimE was just unable to keep up with the control on 2 different armies. Another couple storms coming down, but 19 probes are lost. ShoWTimE's army is withering away. There just really isn't the economy to rebuild that army. He really had the one opportunity, and it looks like Reynor in the end will be able to close this out. I was liking how ShoWTimE played, but in the end he wasn't able to take the fight that he needed to capitalize on the things he did right in the last couple of minutes. And now those Mutants are going crazy, picking off all the High Templar. The Phoenix, okay, they'll be able to kill them, but at the end of the day, you've got Roach Ravager overrunning the 3rd base, and that's going to be GG's Reynor is going to take this series 2-1 over ShoWTimE, and he will